Hello and welcome to Jointly Speaking. My name is Barbara and I am your host for the program. Uh, Today, before I start my program, I would like to thank a couple of people. Whitney Place Assisted Living in Northborough, Mass., for allowing me the privilege of being able to record my program from their facility. I really, truly thank them for that. Today, I'm going to be talking with an occupational therapist, and his name is Todd Frieswick. And I hope you will enjoy listening to us. And we're going to be talking about exercises and all those good things that come along. Thanks for coming, Todd. I appreciate your being here. And Todd, please do me a favor and just kind of tell me what an occupational therapist is, how they work, what type of training you've had and had to go through to become one. I think everybody should understand what you have to take to become what you are. So I hope you'll be able to do that for us.
Occupational therapists in some places would work with the upper extremity, in some places they wouldn't. But as a general rule, our training and our background in school has the upper extremity. Yes.
Right. So you're talking from the waistline basically upward.
Yes.
Which is a good part. And you know, I really feel from my own experience in years gone by and to present that OT doesn't get the credit they deserve because you may teach us how to move our arms and our necks and everything, but you also show us how to rearrange our closets, our cabinets. You help us make our hands work the way they can in a private home. And I think that's important. Most people don't realize that. And I think that's so crucial to anybody doing that, living at home particularly.
Well, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that and saying that. I will say that sometimes OTs, I don't think it's necessarily lack of credit. I think it's just people don't know as much about it. People know what a physical therapist is. People
Yes.
know what a speech therapist is
Right.
and does. People know what nursing is.
Yeah.
I think occupational therapy, it's very broad in what we can do.
Right.
And I think because it's so broad, people don't have as good of an understanding as some of the things that
Yeah.
we can do.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think that's true because, and I know from my own experience and from my family's experience, when you get physical therapy, you don't necessarily always get occupational therapy. So they may never see you people.
That is very true.
Yeah, and that can really, I think, hurt people if they're not included with OT. I really do. I find OT, I've been amazed at what I've learned. Even, talking with you, I've learned a lot. And I don't think people give you enough credit for what you do. No offense, but I just, I think it's a hard job. And I think what you do is amazing for it. But what do you find is a challenge when you have to talk with a client? What is one of the challenges that you find hard to deal with?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I think when we is I mentioned it earlier, that lack of sort of an understanding of what occupational therapy does and can offer.
Yeah.
I go into a patient's room or an apartment, and I say I'm here for occupational therapy, and the first words out of their mouth oftentimes, well, I don't have a job anymore. I don't work anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's getting the patient to understand what we can offer them.
Yeah. And I think that's because occupational isn't that, I don't want to say broadly known, but people are not aware of exactly what you do and how you do it. Am I correct?
Yes. So the word occupation in occupational therapy, your occupation is your life skills. All the things that you do that make you who you are, whether it's getting up in the morning and just getting dressed and doing your daily care, to your job, or
Right.
if we work with kids in school, your schooling, your education, to as you get older and as you age, to your interests, your being a parent, being a grandparent. That's what your occupation in occupational therapy is referring to. It's who you are that makes you who you are as a person.
Yeah, because I think occupational just isn't well known enough. And the fact that you work with children as well. I think a lot of people assume OT and PT are for the adults, for the senior citizens. And that's not true. They just don't realize it can affect everybody, the need.
Yep. Occupational therapists are in schools, working with kids that are having sensory issues or learning issues, or even gross motor issues.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
We
Oh, that's
can.
interesting.
A lot of times that's physical therapy, but OT is involved as well.
Really?
Yeah, OTs work in neonatal intensive care units or NICUs, working with little babies for splinting and positioning. Yeah.
Wow.
We're all over we're all over
Yeah.
the map in terms of the healthcare continuum. So
Right.
there's a lot we can do.
Yeah. Now, working with Sam and the VNA part, I should say that's the name of it. How long have you been with them?
So the VNA is actually very new to me.
Wow.
So VNA is Visiting Nursing Agency. It's part of, so the Salmon has a continuum of services from nursing facilities to independent living facilities to assisted living facilities. So the VNA is one sort of branch of that continuum.
Oh, okay.
My background up until last December had been with working on the long-term care side, the skilled nursing facility side of the continuum.
Okay.
So the VNA to me is actually very new. I've only been working with the VNA for almost a year now.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you seem to be very good at it. I have to say, I've seen you in work and seen you working with the different clients that you have, and I'm amazed. I really am.
So, thank you. I was actually very nervous to go over to the VNA. It just was very out of my comfort zone as a clinician, working in people's homes, and it sort of changes the dynamic when you're a therapist. When you're working in a hospital or in a facility where they come to you, they're sort of on your turf in terms of it's much more institutional and scheduled. And when you go to the home, it's you have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, that's true, because you don't know what their home is like to begin with. I mean, from my own experience, I know I've adapted my home, or I had, to the point where, if a stranger came in, they thought my house was weird. Mm-hmm. Only because I had certain chairs, I had tables in a certain place, I couldn't have scatter rugs, things like that. I mean, people don't realize in their home how dangerous some of the things can be that are within their home limit, within their daily limit, so to speak, where they have to work.
And, I almost think that now that I've done this for a little while, that going in and working in people's homes is actually more fun. It's actually better because that's where they live their life, and you can actually make the biggest difference and the biggest impact on keeping them at their highest level or highest independence possible in their own environment.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because if they're living in their home, they need to know how to live there on a daily basis and how to operate within those premises and be safe. Mm-hmm. That's probably the biggest key, being safe all the time. But when you do exercising, what type of exercises do you do with people as far as OT goes?
So that's a good question. So upper extremity, right? We talked about that earlier. So OTs, and it really depends on the patient. So what I mean by that is when we do exercises with somebody, we generally do them one-on-one. It's very individualized to the person, to their ability.
Okay.
So we might do just simple range of motion exercises of the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, and the hand. Just kind of against gravity, no resistance, and just have them do their range of motion, go through their range of motion. Right. If there's a specific deficit or a fracture or an injury to one part of the body that we're helping them recover from, we would obviously focus on that part of the body, stretching.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: if you're working, let's say I had a shoulder implant or something, I don't know. And you were working on that, would you work on the other arm as well as, like, say, my neck or my wrists or my fingers, or what?
We would. We definitely would. We do treat the whole person.
Right.
We would definitely focus mostly on what we're treating.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what makes OT a little bit unique is that we are treating the whole person. And so we might be working on your shoulder, but we might throw in other areas of the body, the other shoulder as well. You want to make sure that, because you might, if you have an injury on one side of the body and you're favoring the other side of the body, that area might get sore or might be having trouble as well.
Well, and wouldn't it even get overworked or underworked, whichever the case may be, depending on how much the individual is using there? I mean, to me, if you're going to work on my right shoulder, I want you to work on my left shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, that just, to me, makes sense. But I know some people think, well, it's a waste of time or whatever, but it isn't really.
No, we often find ourselves treating other areas of the body as well when we're working with somebody. But primarily, our role is to rehab when it comes to orthopedic injuries, to rehab the area of the body that we're working on.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Now, I've noticed, and I was watching an exercise class today, and they were doing up to 15 repetitions, which kind of surprised. I mean, because all I've ever heard is do 10. I mean, that's the famous number since God knows how long ago. But are they changing the way they're thinking in terms of how many repetitions you do with a client, or is that just individualized?
I think that's individualized. I mean, I know when I do exercises with folks, I generally do 10. Sometimes I'll do 5 if I'm noticing it's really hard for them. I think 10 is like the magic number that everybody seems to do. You do one set of 10, you rest, and then you might do another set of 10.
Right.
I think it's very individualized. There's nothing wrong with doing 15. You just want to make sure that you're not straining or over fatiguing the whatever part of the body you're working on. Sometimes if you do 15, when your muscles get tired, the quality of your exercises goes down, and that's how you can hurt yourself that way. So.
And that's true. I think anybody who overdoes, I've been a great believer my whole life in exercising 5 in the morning, 5 at noon, and 5 at nighttime when I'm done with dinner. Now, it probably would seem odd to people, but I find I don't get tired when I do those 5, and I can go on and keep working, and it keeps me functioning. And I like that. Some people think, oh, that's not good, you're not doing 10 at one time, but I'd be doing 30 a day if I did it 3 times a day that way, so that wouldn't be good either.
I think pacing throughout the day is, definitely has its benefits. Unfortunately, people's schedules and people's lives don't always allow that.
That's true. That's true.
If people can do our exercises once a day, usually the therapist is thrilled.
How true. And that's another thing. How often should they be seeing somebody like you per week, let's say?
Really depends on the setting. In skilled nursing facilities and hospitals, the OT might come in every day or might come in, 5 days a week.
Oh, okay.
In the VNA, it's typically anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week.
Oh, okay.
We might come in, and our treatments are usually 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what we're working on.
And that seems about right. I like the 45 minutes, but after 45 minutes, you can go home. You get tired, You
get tired, you lose focus. Like with anything else you do in life, 45 minutes or an hour, any more than that, and you really lose focus.
And that's true. Lose focus is the hardest thing, I think, for anybody who's had a surgery and trying to focus on doing a particular exercise with you, because they know they got to do it the right way with you, but if they're tired, they can't function. I mean, they won't do it right, they'll make mistakes, and I assume that could be a big problem.
Yeah, a lot of our job is education.
Right.
People know how to do exercises. Most of this education that we provide is not new information to people. It's just reminders or teaching them how to do things a little bit better way, or a little bit more efficient way, or in a little safer way. I always tell my patients, it's what I'm teaching you is not rocket science. You do it every day. It's just that little tips along the way to make people make people's lives better or their
Yeah.
day easier.
Yeah, and it may not seem like rocket science to you. However, to the patient, that's a different story. To them, it's for some patients, I feel bad because they really struggle with doing the therapy. I believe you should exercise even if you're not sick. Exercise at least 3 times a week. And it doesn't have to be a rough exercise, Like you said, doing the range of motion is terrific. It keeps every joint moving and functioning the way it should. So people should be doing that anyway. It just makes common sense to me.
I think the best exercise people can do is just walking. Just get up and just go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go for a walk more than just, what you would do to walk to the kitchen in your home or to the bathroom. Get outside and go for a walk.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the keys, A lot of people, having lived in Florida, everybody's out walking. Nobody's out jogging because of the climate, naturally. But they gain as much from walking as they would from running, from what I've been able to see.
Absolutely. Just getting the body moving.
Yeah.
Recent studies have shown that as people age, and weight training really has a huge benefit for people. And when I say weight training, I don't mean 20 pounds. I mean just a simple resistance, a pound or two of doing weight training a couple times a week makes a big difference in terms of preventing injuries from falls, preventing falls.
Yeah.
Falls is the biggest thing.
Oh yeah.
We want to prevent with everybody. Right?
Yeah.
And falls do happen, but if people take the time to just do some exercise, and it could be simply as walking, first of all, it puts you at a much less risk of falling, and if you do happen to have a fall, God forbid, it prevents you, or you have a less likelihood of having an injury.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And one of the biggest problems I find are the weights that people carry. I'm not a big person to carry a weight. I don't grip it good. But I mean, so to have like a half a pound in my hand even, I'd probably drop it. I mean, is there any other type of thing that you can use that wouldn't be?
So when we go into people's homes, people don't have 1 pound or 2 pound hand weights laying around, right?
Yeah,
so
you're right. Yeah.
You get creative with that. And I've had many people, when I go into their homes, I have them grab a bottle of water out of their refrigerator.
Oh, that's a good idea.
A bottle of water weighs about a pound.
Yeah.
A container of hairspray.
Oh.
Anything around their house that they can hold on to in their hand safely that has some weight to it, half a pound, a pound,
like a can of soup or something?
Can of soup is perfect.
Would that work? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I never would have thought of doing that, but I like that idea. That's good. I can have my soup after you get through shaking it around.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Yeah. Okay.
You make do and you make work.
You utilize what you have in your home then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to get creative.
Yes, I'm sure you do. I mean, that's probably, I think, the hardest part for anybody who is having a problem. They have to be very creative in how they get up in the morning, how they dress themselves, comb their hair, whatever. I mean, you must see a lot of that.
People having to get creative?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Any good creativity you can come up with offhand?
In terms of like.
Well, for anything you might see somebody doing that would be different and nobody else you've seen do. I got them stuck, folks.
I know you put me on the spot. I'm trying to think.
That's good. It's nice to have the shoe on the other foot, let me tell you.
Right. So I've had many different people in the hospital that come into the hospital for whatever. I have a per diem job at a hospital too. So I've had many people come into the hospital and show me some of their more creative ways to get their lower body dressed after having, say, a hip surgery or something. So that's part of what OT would do in the hospital is teach people how to take care of their lower body after having like a hip surgery or something.
Yeah.
I had one gentleman show me how to he used his cane to put his pants on.
Yeah.
Now, normally we show people how to do that with a reacher, a long handle,
Right.
some sort of
Yeah,
reaching
the
or
long
grabbing
handle
device.
reachers. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he used his cane.
That's okay. It's got a hook on it.
Yep. I
give him credit for that.
I had another guy who was an engineer, and he like welded this thing together with a metal pole with a hook on the end of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you see a lot of just creative things that,
Yeah.
you know, and going into people's homes, everybody's home is different, right? So
True.
and some people get really, really creative.
Yeah.
And they do things in their own way.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what makes home care fun.
Yeah. Do you worry about, though, in the sense of if they're doing things in their home and they're making them, that they could maybe make something that could hurt them in the long run? I mean, like it wouldn't be safe for them?
Yeah, of course you always, I mean, safety is our number one thing we're
Yeah.
watching out for.
Of course, yes.
You know, you educate, if that sort of thing comes up, you do educate. I mean, we do see things in homes that are unsafe. I think for the most part, people are receptive, and
Right.
you know, if it works for them, then that's great, as long as they know the risks and
Yeah.
you know, they're
One
aware.
of the things that bothers me, as you know, I'm from Florida. I used to live here in Massachusetts, but I'm now in Florida. But one of the things that bothers me is the homes in Massachusetts. They all have stairs. There's no getting around it. Even my mother's home, I remember, I wouldn't be able to go and visit it today. I wouldn't be able to get in it because the stairs are like 12 stairs to get in, or 10, something like that. But how do people manage that up here today? Do they have to revamp it? What do they have to do to get into their homes, other than have somebody lift them in a wheelchair?
So stairs can be a huge challenge.
I would think so.
When we see people, and stair training is usually done by physical therapy.
Okay.
In most cases, but when the physical therapist is treating a patient in the hospital or in the nursing facility or even in home care, stairs can be a huge challenge.
Yeah.
You know, we can do stair training with folks and teach them how to do it the proper way.
Yeah.
In some cases that works, and when it doesn't work, you have to make recommendations for accommodations, whether that's a stair lift, you know, a device that helps them up and down the
Right.
stairs, or,
Yeah.
or moving a bedroom downstairs, or
Yeah.
you know, in some cases they get upstairs and they may stay upstairs.
Yeah.
Or they go up and down once a day.
Yeah, but like you said, physical therapy does a lot of that. But does OT have to be involved? I mean, to me, that takes your arms. You have to pull yourself on a railing or help yourself up with a railing. Or even if you sat on the step and bumped your butt up, you'd have to use your arms, correct?
Yeah. So where the OT can support that process, you're absolutely right. So it does require some upper body strength.
Yeah.
Right? So we would work on strengthening the upper body for that. The occupational therapists would do, they're the ones that do cognitive assessments with folks.
Okay.
So if somebody had, for an example, a stroke, and they had some cognitive impairment from their stroke, and they did need to learn how to do stairs.
Mm-hmm.
What the OT would do would be to do a cognitive assessment and help the PT teach the patient how to do things in a way based on the impairment that they've seen from the stroke. The OT would kind of educate the family
Right.
and the other therapist on how the best way for that patient to be taught.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've noticed more than anything with OT is the biggest area I have trouble with, it probably sounds weird, it's not the bathroom, it's the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I find the kitchen is the hardest room, because if you can't stand long enough, then you got to sit on a walker, or you got to sit on a rollator or whatever. But if you can't, then you're in trouble. But then you've got to be able to reach everything in that room, and even like holding a hand mixer, forget it, you know.
The kitchen in the homes can be, so you're dealing with cabinets high and
Yep.
low, so you're
Yep.
dealing with that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with, ovens,
Right.
hot food, microwaves,
Yep.
hot food, and the transportation of that food to the table.
Yeah.
There's a lot involved with the kitchen.
I know what I've done recently. I bought a small, what they call a KitchenAid oven, and it bakes and it broils and it warms things. It did everything. And it was a small one, but it sat on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the best investment I think I've ever made, because to get to a regular oven, you have to bend over. Well, some people can and some people can't. And then you got to be able to pull the shelves out. And then you're bent over. Now you got to lift something that's in the oven to get it on top of the stove, which can be heavy. And that can be a problem. So I had this little oven that, boy, I'll tell you, it'll cook even a 10-pound turkey. I loved it. It worked. It was just convenient more than anything. I mean, I used the big oven. I don't think I used the big oven the last 5 years. I just let it sit there. And this was a 110 line, which was better than the 220 on the oven.
I think most folks, as they get older, they rely more on the microwave.
Well, I don't like a microwave. I will not use a microwave. You can't get me near one to save your soul, I'm telling you. But this was a regular oven, and I found it. I could cook cake in it, I could cook turkey in it, I could warm things in it, I could have pizza in it, just about anything, and it was convenient, and that's what I liked. And I think that's the hardest thing. But, one of the things, Todd, I'm kind of curious about, what do you think about the people, as far as, how can I put this nicely? Dishes, glassware. It becomes a problem for people who have a disability in their arms.
You mean like risk of breaking them?
Yeah, just lifting them empty-handed. If there's nothing in them, they are heavy.
So the OT in me would say, go to plastic. Right?
Exactly.
Or go to, get
Touche.
a handled mug with a cover.
Yep.
Yeah, glassware can be a huge problem if somebody has dexterity problems in their hands or.
Yeah, and it's like a coffee cup. A lot they have coffee cups. I know everybody uses them. I don't. I have to use a mug if I'm going to use it, because I put my hand on the handle of the mug, but then I use my other hand to put under the mug to hold it so I can get it to my mouth.
Mugs with lids and straws.
Yes, yeah. Anything that's lightweight, even on pans. I have found that aluminum foil works great. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, no, you put it in it and it bends. That's true if you use one foil pan. But if you put a second one underneath it and just let them cook together, I mean, you're not using it really, it's just support. You'll find the aluminum foil won't bend as bad. In fact, I find it doesn't bend at all. And I could cook, and then when I get done, I just take it out and put it back in the cabinet and use it the next time around. But I find that aluminum foil is so much easier to lift than the heavy aluminum pans or whatever, remember the old wrought iron frying pans? Oh, you probably don't.
Might be a little before my time.
Yeah, he's a little too young, folks. We'll have to forgive him for that. But man, those were killers. I mean, you try lifting one of them up, empty, let alone full, was an experience and a half.
Yeah, the amazing thing that we see, people may have cognitive impairment or they may not be able to do a certain activity in their day, but one thing they remember how to do is cook.
Oh gosh, yes.
Because it's something that they've been doing their entire life.
Yep. Yeah, and that's true. I don't think you ever forget how to cook something, at least maybe one special item, like what you know. I made some mincemeat squares the other day. I love them. Mm-hmm. And I like homemade caramel candy that my mother taught me to make. But that takes all day, But there are a lot of things, that were made from scratch. And I like them much better than I do buying a can of meatloaf and opening it. I'm sorry. I just don't care for food that's already prepared.
No, it's so true.
Has a nicer taste.
Unfortunately, sometimes you have to make do with, prepared stuff to get, because it's easier, but.
Hey, do you have any suggestions for people like with the hand mixer or the regular mixer? I don't like either one of them, to be honest with you. The hand mixer you have to hold, and the big regular mixer, you have to lift it to clean it, pick it up and put it down, remove
So
them.
they make some pretty cool new food processors these days.
Oh, really? I
You
haven't seen a food presser in
You
ages.
still have to, well, yeah, KitchenAid and similar companies make these products, and
Oh,
there's
okay.
still cleaning involved, but you
Yeah.
don't have to hold. It's as simple as like flipping a switch or pushing a switch or a lever versus having to like turn it manually or
Oh, that's
pull
good.
the
mixer,
the mixer,
yeah.
the beater on and off. They also have like one-handed devices that you can mix with. They do make a lot of cool new.
Because I
products
would
in
think
the
that
store.
would be essential for people with any kind of upper torso problems, arms, shoulders, hands, wrists, fingers, you name it. I mean,
Yeah.
because you just can't hang on to things.
Right, and you might not have the strength in your hands to manually do
Exactly,
it. So
yeah.
if cooking and baking is something that you
Even cleaning them after you get done with them can be a challenge. Leave it in the sink with water for a day or so and then try and clean
yeah,
it.
most of that stuff now can all be cleaned in the it can all be not the microwave, the dishwasher. rather.
Dishwasher,
Most
yes.
of that stuff can be cleaned in the dishwasher, so that
Yeah,
that makes
that's
it a
true.
little easier.
The new mixers probably can. I didn't think about that. But that's a good idea to use a cold container, like your blender, I call them, than to use a regular mixer. That would work a lot easier, wouldn't it? As long as it's big enough to hold the food that you're putting in it.
Yeah, they either have larger ones that are on a stand and with a big mixing bowl, you just mix everything in there, or they have smaller ones that you can hold in your hand and just put everything in a little cup and mix
And
it.
mix it that way, yeah. What about things like pot holders and things like that to get hot things out of the oven? What do you recommend to people like that who have a disability?
Out of the oven. So that's a tough area.
It's very tough.
They do have oven sticks, so you can. That you
Oven
can
sticks? What's an oven
It's an oven
stick?
stick. It's basically it looks like a ruler, and it's got a little notch cut into it, and it hooks on the rack of the oven.
Yeah.
And it basically allows you to pull the oven out, so you don't have to bend over so far to do it manually. Using your hand, you can use it with the oven stick. So that helps with doing that, and
So my little gun that I have on my stroller here would almost do the same thing. It's bent and it could grab whatever I had.
Yeah, you would need probably a little hook on the end of it.
Yeah, or use this end.
Yeah.
Why not just reverse it? All it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, is a gun, but it's made out of PVC piping. And I use it to open elevators, to turn light switches on, and
And it attaches to the front of your
my electric scooter.
to the basket.
Yeah.
It's actually you want to talk about being creative.
Well, you have to be. After many years of having a disease, you learn to. But that's what I like doing. I mean, my hairbrushes are long like that, with a hairbrush on one end. And I do it that way. It's just PVC piping. If you buy it correctly, an inch or less in diameter, it's lightweight. And you can hold it. I once purchased a hairbrush through a medical supply store, and it was so heavy I couldn't hold it. And so that's when I went with the PVC. And the PVC, my brother, I designed it, and my brother made it for me. And I've been using it ever since, and I love it.
You can do a similar thing with, like, if you had trouble with holding silverware.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with that. You could somehow glue the PVC, cement the PVC around the silverware, like you did with your hairbrush.
Oh, I never thought of that. I thought you could just put like a piece of styrofoam, or you know what I used to use before they invented all these new things? I used to use a face cloth.
Oh yeah.
I wrapped it around a knife, kitchen knife, so I could get a better grip on it, and then cut my food when I needed to. And then you could just take it off and wash it when it got dirty or something.
That's
you know?
the nice thing about the PVC. It's washable. Throw it in the
Yeah.
dishwasher and you're done.
Yeah, the PVC, I have to say, I think is the best invention, especially for those with a disability. Because if you need to reach things, like you said, dressing, getting your clothes on and off, anything like that, the PVC is the answer. It's worth it, shutting doors, opening doors, I find I have to design it differently for some things, but most of the time the stick, it works great. Everybody thinks I got a gun in my carriage.
It's one of the more creative. You had asked earlier about creativity and people being creative with things, and that's one of the more creative things I've seen. So
Yeah, and it works, and as you saw, I have styrofoam up where I grab it. We just stuck a piece of black styrofoam, slid it on, and we have that on there just so it makes it easier on my hand, and it fills up your hand because, as you know, I'm sure, a lot of people can't make a full grip with their hands when they have problems, and this sort of substitutes that empty space, if that's the term to use.
looks like just a piece of pipe insulation.
Yeah. That too, that could be, but I think people have to, in their own sense, be creative. I mean, I can see where you can create and give them ideas, but isn't it good for the individual to try and create their own idea of what they need to use for themselves?
Oh, I think.
Or am I saying that wrong?
No, I think we therapists and healthcare professionals, I think we teach we impart the knowledge onto the person.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately they have to do what works for them, and they have to figure out what's going to work for them.
Go to the mic. Yeah. Yeah, keep it close to you. I'm talking to them, folks. Don't mind me. But yeah, you're right. I think they do, but I think anyone who can start thinking about, well, all right, let's take for example clothing.
Mm-hmm.
I hate clothing. I wish we didn't have to wear it some days. But I can't put anything over my head.
Right.
So everything has to either zip down the front or button. And zippers, I find, are not good. They get entangled, they get caught,
They're hard to get started.
and then you can't get them started. Exactly. I've even added on to the starting mechanism rope.
Yep, the little zipper pulls or
Yep,
something. Yep.
something like that to help. And and that's what you have to do.
Or-
But people who can't get something over their head have got to go another alternative.
I mean, OTs, I mean, I have taught people other adaptive ways to put a shirt on over their head, but
Right.
ultimately if range of motion in the shoulders is
I
a
was going to
problem,
say the range of motion would be the problem.
there's only
yeah.
so much you can do
I know
sometimes.
I've taken a sweatshirt that you'd wear over your head a few years back. I got so desperate because I wanted a sweatshirt to wear. I cut it up the front.
Yep.
And I made a seam out of press-on tape, and I had a sweatshirt that I could wear.
Yep. And some people I've seen that.
I mean, it wasn't gorgeous. I'm not going to say it was.
It's all about being creative.
Well, that's it. And it doesn't have to look perfect. It has to work for them. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
That's the key.
If it works for them and they're comfortable with it,
Yeah.
then that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
It's all about making. That's why therapists always have to make individualized goals. Everybody's different. So
True,
what
true.
what's your goal? What do you want to accomplish, and how do you want to accomplish it?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
could be very different for two very different people.
Yeah, says you. I keep telling myself, what do I want to accomplish? But, I just want to be able to maintain my independence. I think that's probably everybody's wish. I think everybody wants to be able to maintain their independence and do for themselves and have somebody around if you need help, yes. I don't say you're going to do it 100% on your own, but you want to be able to at least maybe get up in the morning, maybe dress yourself, maybe make yourself a cup of coffee, something like that, Except what I did today, I poured my coffee on my leg. I thought I did good. Was not a smart way to go. But I was trying to drink coffee, and I wasn't at the table. And that was my mistake. I was trying to hold a cup of coffee and drive my scooter. You can't do it. It doesn't work.
I think it's true. I agree with you. I think people want to be as independent as possible,
Right.
and I think that's why assisted livings in places like this exist. I mean,
Oh, yes.
people can
Yes.
people can still live very, very independent lives
Right.
in you're just modifying the environment, and you're modifying all the daily things that they have, all the little things that come up in their day that they don't have to do anymore here.
And what I think a lot of people probably may not, and we're kind of getting off subject, but like in an assisted living such as this, they have trips. Constantly. They go to lunch every week if you want to go, and then they go to a store after if people want to go shopping or something. And I think that's great, you know. And then, of course, the city has transportation that will take you to doctor's appointments if you need it. So I don't think people really understand how the assisted living works. And, you know, if I recommended anything, that's one thing I would tell somebody. Before you need it, go look at it.
Research it,
Research it. Find out what's going on, how it works. And then, if you ever do need it, then you've got some ideas of what you do or you don't want in it. You know?
That is so true. I couldn't agree with you more. No. And it's not just assisted livings. It can be anything.
Yeah, long term, it could be anything.
Really anything.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, people are having to make rushed decisions because they have to, because things happened.
And that's it. Like if you're in an apartment building with stairs only, and all of a sudden you fall and you can't climb stairs, what do? You've got to get out of there probably. And that's something else that, you know, people have to be aware of. They got to think before they move into places or whatever the case may be. You know, I really believe in that. I'm a great believer in thinking it out first before you do it. So hopefully it helps. But back to OT. Okay.
Isn't that what we've been talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
But I just wanted to check on you. I know you said, you know, it's different with everybody because of their problem, and I understand that. But aren't there any basic, how should I say this, any basic rules that they should follow, or you have to follow, or whatever? I'm not trying to put you on a spot. I'm just trying to ask.
In terms of what I'm allowed to do?
Yes.
So,
I mean, do you actually have a level or a restriction that says, hey, you can't do this to any patient?
Well, so I'm always,
okay.
That's okay. So now I understand what you're asking. So, occupational therapists, it's the same, similar with speech therapists, or I operate under the supervision of a doctor.
Right.
Meaning, if I want to do a treatment on somebody, I have a doctor's order for that.
Right.
So if I wanted to do really pretty much anything, I have to have a doctor's order for. Sometimes the doctor's orders can be a little general. And give me some leeway as a therapist and what I can do. But if I wanted to do a specialized treatment, like an ultrasound treatment on somebody or something like that, I would need a doctor's order. So I can't write my own orders. I always have to, you know,
you have to have it from
get the doctor on board. Yes,
which makes good sense. You know.
But in terms of there are those special treatments out there that you need special certifications. One of the certifications for an OT is a hand therapist. Now, a hand therapist is an OT, but they have specialized training.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's a special certification.
Know that.
So there are those certain things like that.
I had no idea that a hand therapist was special from regular OT. I had no idea.
Yeah, the hand is a very, very complex
that it is
part of your body, and when you have surgery or injuries to your hand, you really need to be seen by my recommendation is you really need to be seen by a hand therapist because there's a lot of training that goes that's involved.
Oh yeah, you got every joint that moves on your fingers and every. Yeah, and I can see where that would be.
Hand therapists are very good at making. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody wearing a hand splint or a splint on their hand.
Yes, I have.
So so it's a training. It's really an art to doing that. It's something that takes practice.
Oh. That's interesting to know. I had no idea they specialized.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had one, so I don't.
There's all sorts of those little specialties, specialties that people do.
Yeah. What do you find the most rewarding for your job that you do?
For the job that I have now?
Well, yeah, I hope so.
So I work in a building that has 70 plus residents, and I've gotten to know most of them already in the 10 months that I've been here.
You're right.
I think there's some fantastic life stories in this building.
I can't imagine.
I think you don't see, when you work in a hospital or when you work in the skilled nursing facility, you treat the patient maybe for whatever it is, a few days in some cases, or it might be a month or a couple of weeks, but you don't really get to see the person in their own environment.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
When you work, with this job, I get to see people in their own environment, whether that's here at Whitney Place or whether when I go into their home.
Yeah.
And I think you really get to know them a little bit better.
Yeah.
And being here, I've met some of the most independent 98-year-old people that I've ever,
I agree with you.
90-something-year-old people that I've ever worked with.
I've met one of them, and let me tell you, she's 96, and she's a tough cookie. She isn't about to quit.
Right. So I think right now that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I came over to the VNA.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard unless you experience probably all areas for which you are qualified for, to see that, like you said, in their home or here or in a hospital. It makes a lot of difference with the way the people act, I think. Yeah. Especially if they're in the hospital.
So I've been an OT since I got my license to practice OT in 2002, and
you're a young babe.
Yeah. Thank you. So since then, I've had a chance to work in the hospital and in the nursing homes, and and now in the VNA and in people's homes. And so I've had a very in each experience.
You've had a broad experience.
And it's all very different.
Yeah.
And the challenges are different, and the areas that you're working on are different. It's still OT, but it's just different in all those areas.
Can I ask you a question? And I don't think I even have ever asked anybody this. What type of education did you have to have to become an OT?
So that's a really good question.
I want to make sure you're qualified.
Okay. So that's a really good question, actually, because it has changed recently.
Oh, really?
So I guess I haven't been doing this that long, but long enough. When I went to school, that I went to for my undergrad was from 96 to 2000.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a bachelor's degree.
Oh.
So you got accepted to your undergraduate college as an OT major, and you did your 4 years.
Yeah.
And usually you got out with a bachelor's. I have a bachelor's of science, and then you have to do field work or internships after you graduate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for my school, it was 3. You had to do 3 12-week internships. Some schools, it's 2 12-week internships.
Oh.
After you successfully pass that, you have to sit for your boards. Much like a nurse would, or any allied health professional.
And that makes sense.
And that's how you get your certification and your license.
Okay. See, I didn't realize you had to take the exam for it. I mean, I know you did it, went to school for it.
But now, and I think this has been maybe the last 10 years, you actually need a master's degree. So it's
You're kidding.
So you get your undergraduate degree. And then it's another year, or it might even be 2 years of training.
Yeah, I was going to say master's. Sometimes it's 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but then once you get that master's degree, you still have to go through the internship and pass that test. But it's actually a master's degree level now, and there's a recent push to make it a doctorate.
You're
doctorate
kidding.
level.
Can I ask you why they feel that is necessary? I mean, I've never had a complaint with an OT or a PT I've ever had in my life. I think they have served me well. They've treated me right. I've learned from them, and I've been able to do what I wanted to do thanks to their help. So
yeah, I think they're trying to incorporate more, teaching the students how to do more evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice is using current research and current, the newest and latest and greatest. And what they're doing in that extra year is they're teaching their students how to apply that to their daily practice.
So
how to research, basically. I don't know. I have mixed feelings, honestly, about promoting.
I mean, to me, it sounds like you're getting a doctorate. This sounds like you're going to spend your life in school before you could even practice.
And unfortunately, these kids are getting out with that extra schooling costs money, right?
So they're getting please,
I think there's a lot of benefits to that. But I also think there's a lot of benefits to the kids getting out of school and applying it to real life patients.
Yeah, that would make more sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know, it's personal preference, but my personal preference, I'm happy that I have a bachelor's degree. I do have a master's in something else, but my bachelor's degree in working in the experience means more to me than maybe a doctorate. Yeah. But that's just me.
Yeah, I just can't believe that they want to go with doctorate. I think that is wild, absolutely wild.
It's just how healthcare's evolved over the past, 10, 15 years.
That's amazing. That's very interesting. Well, I want to take a few minutes to do some exercise. And I also want to let everybody know that you can email me if you have a complaint or if you're happy with the show. It's called Jointly Speaking Podcast at gmail.com. So you can't call me because I don't have a phone number you can reach me at. But if you want to write me, if you'd like to hear me talk about something on the show, I'm always open for new ideas. I love it. And if you want to criticize me, I'll take that too, because I can always learn. So don't hesitate. Anyway, I was trying to get Todd to do some exercises today, and he said, no, I have to do them, which I don't think
I want you to keep up with your practice.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'll do them with you.
No, I just sit and talk about them. Okay, well, I'd like to do a couple of exercises. Let's start with, I like the lower torso. Because we're sitting and it's easier to explain to people. So for everybody listening, if you're sitting in a chair, get in a good straight chair with arms on it. I highly recommend you have arms on your chair and make it comfortable. Okay? And what I want you to do is take a couple of deep breaths in, inhale, and then very slowly let it out through your mouth, okay? Very slowly. No rush. We're relaxing. Okay, let's try it again. Inhale and exhale when you're ready. Okay, that helps to relax you, don't you think, Todd? I like to do it.
Breathing is the most important thing to do when you exercise, and everybody forgets to do it.
And you're right, and we didn't even talk about that today. I'm sorry, we should have. That's right. Okay, what I'd like you to do, what I usually do is put both feet flat on the floor, and I lift my toes up. And then I bring them back down. No rush. We do 3 repetitions usually. Bring them up, and then let them down when you're ready. Now, you're keeping your heel on the floor. You're not moving the heel, just the toes. Okay, one more time. Up, and bring it back down. Okay. Now, the next thing you can do is your knees are bent, so straighten your knee out. Make your legs straight and bring it back down. You can do one leg at a time. I don't like doing both legs at a time. I don't think you can do it as well as if you do one leg at a time. That's my thought on it. So bring your leg out, straighten it, and bring it back down. Then go out, hold it, and bring it back down, okay? Then I want you to do your other leg, do your left leg. I always start with my right side, folks. Sorry, I should have told you that. Start on the right side, but now you're on the left. So then you want to take your left leg and lift it out, straighten it out, and bring it back.
We always teach people to do it one side at a time, too.
Yeah, I really think that's important.
You can isolate the muscles better if you do it one at a time, because you use the other side to stabilize the body. So
I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Yeah, but that does make sense now that you mention it. Yeah. So do your left leg out, and then bring it back. Remember, everything is in slow motion. You don't rush with your exercises, folks. A bad idea. And can you tell them why it's a bad idea, Todd?
When you rush through your exercises, because you don't do them properly, you can hurt yourself.
Exactly. You don't get it, and you don't gain any momentum either, do you, by doing it fast? I mean,
you still get benefit, but not the benefit that you could be getting.
You could be looking for. Okay. Okay, the other one, let's do something different. How about your neck? Do you have them go sideways
So
and then come to the front?
yeah, sideways is usually
Okay.
start with that. So look to the left, look to the right.
Okay, look to the right, and then bring it back to the center and
Yep.
stop. Then go to the right again. I do them all on one side first. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure,
And then
absolutely.
bring it back
You can,
to the center and stop. And one more time, bring it to the right and bring it back. Okay, let's do the left side. Go to the left and do it slowly, no rushing, please, and bring it back to the center. Go out to the left and bring it back to the center. And one more time, out to the left and back to the center. It's very hard to do this on the radio. You do know that, Todd.
yes,
Because I can't
that's-
see what anybody's doing.
Why do you think I wanted you to do it and I would support you?
Thanks a lot, kiddo. But what would you do next if you were doing exercise? I mean, I did the head. Would I do the shoulder shrugs?
Shoulder shrugs are very common. The exercises that I like to have people do are the ones that they can do anywhere. Sitting in a chair.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can, for some of these, you can do laying down, you can do them sitting up. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. That's a
shoulder
good
shrugs
point.
is a great one.
Okay, yeah, that's a good. So let's do shoulder shrugs. So bring your shoulders up. Try and meet your ears. If you could do that, you're better than I am.
The reality of this
And
world
then
is
bring it down.
everybody's multitasking, Barbara. Everybody's doing three things at once. So if you can teach somebody while they're watching TV or on the computer to do exercises,
Go up. Yeah. What I tell people to do, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but if you're watching TV at night, I do it during commercials.
Yep.
I could care less what they're selling on the commercials. So I like doing my exercises. I mean, you don't have to do it at every commercial, but if you could do it even once or twice each half hour, you've accomplished your exercises that way. And I really believe that. And the shoulder shrugs, one more time. And bring it back down. Okay. Okay. What else can we do, Todd?
so very common exercise. It's a little weird to describe to somebody over a podcast, but one of the most common exercises that the physical therapist will show you how to do or teach you how to do when they work with you is, for lack of a better way to describe it, squeezing your glutes, squeezing
your buttocks.
your buttocks together. Yes.
Yeah.
So and it's basically tightening them
Yeah.
and holding them for a count of 3 or 5
Yep. And then
and
release.
releasing them.
Yep.
And that's one of those exercises that you kind of do both of them at the same
Yeah,
at the same time. You can't-
I do that exercise a lot with them on the radio, yes.
that is a very good exercise. It keeps the hamstrings and the and it tightens the quads too. The leg
Yeah,
muscles.
and that was one thing I was very surprised. I always thought you had to do a quadricep to strengthen the quad in the leg. But when you do the buttocks, if you pay attention, you can feel your muscle in your leg tightening a little bit. You may not feel it a lot at first.
Yep.
but
Very
it does
important to keep those strong because that's what keeps people being able to walk and stand.
Right,
Helps on the stairs.
Yeah.
Too.
that's true. But anyway, that's the last exercise we're going to do for today because we're kind of short on time. But I do want to tell you again to please email me if you want to, jointly-speaking-podcast@gmail.com, okay? And I'll be here again next month. I don't know who I'll have for guests, but I will be here in November. We're doing the show monthly. And Todd, I want to thank you so much for coming here today and doing this with me. This is my new show and my new experience. So,
No, this is great. Thank you for inviting me.
oh, that's
It was
great.
my pleasure.
Well, I think it's important. I really do. I can't tell people how much I like having therapy. I think it's a wonderful way to keep you active. It helps to retain your muscles and your joints the best that they can. Because I see too many people that just have surgery and then they just quit. They don't care. And one quickie on you, if you would. When you leave a patient, don't you want them to continue on with their exercising after you leave?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Because that seems to be a big problem. I hear a lot of people say, well, I did my therapy, I'm done.
Yeah.
What do you say to
It's
that?
important to, you may not do it exactly the same, but
Right.
it's important to, our whole role is education and
Right.
more than anything. So
Yeah, and I think that is the key to anything, doing something like that. Now, Todd, I only got a minute, but I know you have a lovely little daughter. I met her,
Oh.
and is she 10 or 12? I can't remember.
She's 10. She'll be 11.
10.
She'll be 11 in a couple months.
She's a sweetie.
Thank you.
She really is. It was nice to
you.
meet her.
Thank you. She grew up in the first 5 years of her life. She attended a daycare.
Oh.
That was in one of the nursing homes.
Oh, okay.
So she's been around
She's been around the medical field.
the
then.
medical field and
Yeah.
sort of the elderly population her
Oh.
entire life. So
Well, does
she's
she
kind of
have
a-
any desire to get involved in that field yet?
she's a little young yet. She doesn't know
Yeah.
what she wants to do.
Yeah, that's okay.
She's very social and very outgoing. So
Yes, she is, and she's a sweetie pie.
So
I
thank you
want
for
to know
thank
that.
you for mentioning her.
Oh no, it was a pleasure to meet her. I enjoyed it. You know, it's rare when you meet children and you have such a good relationship with them and see that. You know, it's really wonderful. So I envy you that. I really do.
Thank
My
you.
kids are all grown up.
Yeah, it happens fast.
And they all know more than their mother now.
Oh wow, they weren't that young.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's amazing when they're young, they know nothing, but all of a sudden they grow up, they get out on their own, and all of a sudden they know more than their mother.
Yeah. Everybody tells me her strong-willed nature will come in handy someday. So
Yes,
hopefully.
I agree on that. I think it will. Well, Todd, I want to say thank you very much for doing the show with us today, and I want to thank everybody for listening to Jointly Speaking, and I will see you again next month. Take care.